Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Saturday night update. It is the Earthmaster here on this side. 9:22 p.m. West Coast time here in California, July 20th, 2024. Latest activity here does show some movement out into the California area, specifically underneath Lake Tahoe. Got a decent swarm of earthquake activity stirring up here earlier this morning, and more notably, following this large earthquake down south here. It seems a little odd, right, to see an uptick in earthquake activity following a large event thousands of miles away. But yeah, I don't believe in coincidence out here. I believe that is somewhat related. We did see that 6.2 stir up here at about 1953 my time here, right? California time. 1953. Few minutes later, it seems as though when that seismic wave maybe reached the California area, because you got to remember you got the primary wave from an earthquake and a surface wave. I believe these surface waves have triggered a swarm of earthquakes up here across the Lake Tahoe area, or maybe continued this swarm, because it did start off earlier this morning, but notably that 3.4 occurring minutes after that large earthquake there into the Middle America Trench underneath the Guatemala area. So since then, we've been kind of rocking and rolling here underneath the Lake Tahoe area. The largest, a 3.4, couple twos in there, even another three-pointer in the mix, and they're coming in left and right. Something of noteworthy activity out here, I believe, is about ready to happen underneath the Lake Tahoe area. Now, it's a little concerning, right? It's a major body of water, and man, is there some high-dollar homes out here across South Lake Tahoe and all around the area. So, someone mentioned if this is a volcano. Is Lake Tahoe a collapsed volcano? No, it is not, according to some of the geologists and whatnot that mention about it. There's a whole article here on how it was formed. The basin was actually formed by the rise and fall of the landscape due to faulting, typical faulting out here over time, of course. Now, there's something of a little concern here because this area is very capable of producing a 7.3 earthquake and tsunamis up to about 30 feet. That's 10 meters high. That right there, a 30-foot tsunami, would definitely devastate all those nice homes out there that are positioned around this lake here. $1 million homes along the line, the shore there. And what's very scary, read down a little bit further. This is actually an article from livescience.com. I'll include it if you guys want to read it. Earthquakes strike every 3,000 to 4,000 years on the fault here around Lake Tahoe. And the most recent shaker was about 4,500 years ago, indicating that the fault is overdue for another earthquake. So, we're talking about a 7.3 possible earthquake out here with a 30-foot tsunami around Lake Tahoe area. Now, yeah, I mean that's a long time ago. Last one was 4,500 years ago, and the average intervals run about 3,000 to 4,000. So what does that tell you? It tells you and me and everyone else out there that this is well overdue for a big earthquake. Now, historically, let me show you guys here. Historically, we're not going to see those that 7.3 out here, obviously, because the earthquake catalog does not go back that far. But if you remember my this last update here, I was talking about a swarm that kicked up here back in 2021. We've seen a 4.1 or 4.2, excuse me, and a swarm of other quakes in the same exact area that we're seeing the earthquake movement today. So it's a little concerning. Definitely a little concerning here because a lot of time has passed. There's a lot of strain built up here across the West Coast in general. And, you know, this area, if you look at the statistics here, we're well overdue for a very large earthquake. So, at least, what do we have here for historical data around the Lake Tahoe area? As far as the record's been kept, let's check out the largest magnitude. That would be a... Where'd that go? There we go. 6.3 earthquake. Back in that's a little odd, 1857. That's the year that there was a very large earthquake down along the San Andreas Fault. Coincidence? I think not. I don't like that word. There is no such thing as coincidence. That doesn't exist. Everything happens for a reason. So that's a little odd. 1857. And I think this earthquake occurred after the earthquake down south there along the San Andreas Fault. So there's a little bit of connection there going on. So anyway, 6.3, 1857 was the last big earthquake around here. But this area, and that was up north. That was off of the fault system here, north around the Mount Baldy area. But specifically underneath this area is capable of a 7.3 earthquake. 5.5 back in 1877, an earthquake there. 4.8 back in 1998. I'm more concerned about areas underneath this area, so could we be seeing something bigger out here? Absolutely. I just find it absolutely weird that things would stir up here almost immediately following the earthquake down south. Again, 1953, and then we started to see that swarm up here underneath Lake Tahoe almost 10 minutes later. So you got to remember, a surface wave takes a little time to travel across the area, right? Thousands of miles away. We see it show up here on seismograph stations literally 5 to 10 minutes later. So it seems as though the seismic wave there, the surface wave, triggered further increasing strain out here, or triggered a domino effect here underneath this area. Maybe it was just waiting for something to set it off here, and that surface wave triggered this earthquake swarm underneath Lake Tahoe. That's the only thing I can think of. It's not a volcano. Definitely quite a bit of strain out here, right? It doesn't appear like it's affected the San Andreas Fault for now, but man, did it stir up something underneath Lake Tahoe here. So within the last, let's see here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 earthquakes here, and that's just the ones they're reporting since that large earthquake down south in the Guatemala area. And this other earthquake activity was previously in the morning time. So we got something to watch out here very closely. There's a couple different fault systems here underneath the Lake Tahoe area. The big one that can take place here is the West Tahoe Fault, the Dollar Point Fault Zone. It's a little bit more lengthier, but any of these fault systems are capable of producing a large earthquake. And what I find weird is that these earthquakes are not following a trend along a fault, right? Normally you would see earthquakes follow a specific fault line, but this is going opposite. It's going against it. So it's possible we could be seeing something much bigger potentially about ready to take place out here. Not a forecast, but it's always good to be prepared when you have, some decent wording out here. Look at this. Again, earthquakes strike this area every 3,000 to 4,000 years on the fault, and the most recent shaker was 4,500 years ago. So that's way overdue, indicating that the fault is overdue for another earthquake. 7.3 earthquake with a tsunami up to 30 feet, Lake Tahoe area. So be on guard. This article was actually put out in 2012. So that tells you something right there. We're looking at 14 years now of built up strain since this article was put out. Definitely got to keep an eye on this area. I'll see if I can pull up something in terms of a seismograph station out here. I don't know. I'll look at this after this update video. I'll see if I can add a local seismograph around this area. But keep an eye on the Lake Tahoe area. Probably no one's really feeling it. Maybe they're feeling the three-pointers around here, around the Carson City area. Most people will feel a three-pointer. Looks like Truckee, Reno, Carson City, South Lake Tahoe area, all feeling that earthquake. But that's nothing of what it's capable of. That's why I've said it all along. We've been living in some very quiet times here in terms of earthquake activity. The New Madrid seismic zone, the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault, the Cascadia subduction zone, very capable of putting us back months, if not years, in terms of our infrastructure. So a 9-pointer out here across the Cascadia would absolutely devastate the Pacific Northwest. A big earthquake out here across the the New Madrid seismic system here, the New Madrid seismic zone, 7.8, 7.9, I believe, would absolutely devastate a broad area. An 8.1 that's capable here along the San Andreas Fault would absolutely devastate this area. So, a lot of time has passed. A lot of strain has built up. We have gone advanced. I mean, I've witnessed it myself. I didn't have cell phones growing up. We had a little walkie-talkie, a CB radio, citizens band radio that we'd operate on. And, we've advanced quite nicely, no doubt. Making our life much easier, right? But all it takes is a big event to put us back quite a ways. And, it's been building. It will happen again. It will. There's no doubt. No doubt Lake Tahoe area will see, a 30-foot tsunami around this region. Again, one day. That's what they're stating. 7.3 earthquake out here. That would, a 30-foot high tsunami. That's pretty decent. There's some $1 million homes up here. It's been a while since I've been around the Lake Tahoe area, South Lake Tahoe, North Shore area, Crystal Bay. Beautiful lake. Absolutely love Lake Tahoe area. It's pristine waters. But, many people build their home on a volcano. One day, you're not going to have a home. So, you got to think about this stuff right here, right? And for those of you that think, well, if it happens, it happens. I've had a good life. That's not the correct attitude to have out here. Got to make sure you have a plan, earthquake and tsunami plan, even up in Lake Tahoe. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Definitely kicking up here. The last earthquake, a 1.4, roughly about 20 minutes or so ago. But like I said, this seismic wave from the 6.2 seems to have triggered that swarm up here, up north. The pressure doesn't normally go up north this way. It would pressure from the Middle America Trench would affect the Caribbean plate. And right now it doesn't look like anything's happening. But the surface waves here, you got to remember that vibrational frequency is traveled across the Earth, across the surface there. Surface waves. And they can trigger large earthquakes and also earthquake swarms. So keep an eye on the Lake Tahoe area, the southern area of the Cascadia subduction zone, seeing a 2.2 earthquake. That was 1940, so that was just prior to this large earthquake down south. So a little bit of movement here in the southern end of the Cascadia. Let me double check the tremor count tonight. About 85 epicenters of tremor. Not a big deal. Yellowstone National Park. You got to remember, folks, when we're looking at seismograph stations there, I just want to point out that a lot of people don't know what they're talking about here on YouTube when they're stating that this is magma movement or it's some type of melted land or melted rock underneath the area. The large earthquake, the 6.2 that struck in the Guatemala area, is very visible out here on the seismograph stations. That's not a local earthquake. That's a large distant earthquake there that showed up on numerous seismograph stations, including the promontory down here. This right here, obviously it looks like some type of wind events. I believe they had thunderstorms roll through there earlier. Don't believe me? Well, let's just go check it out. All right. I do back up everything I say. I'm not just spitting out words and blabbering my mouth out here. I like to show you guys what's going on and why it's happening. It's all about facts out here, right? Science and geology, all about facts. So there's a broad area of thunderstorm activity out here all afternoon for a couple hours, actually. Came down from the north, died out, but there was a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, a lot of wind and rain. And what we see here is noise on the seismograph station being picked up from all those thunderstorms earlier. You can see it there, see it on this station. Over here as well, the east entrance. Please don't let anyone tell you this is Yellowstone getting ready to blow. Please. I try to help everyone out the best I can, but there's a lot of fear mongers out there on YouTube that like to get the clicks, they like to get the views. And I'm all about the facts. So thunderstorms blew through there, died out. Now we're left with, fairly quiet conditions aside from that 6.2 earthquake that showed up there on the seismograph station. So I'd like to point that out. I try my best to provide factual information here on this channel. I've been doing it nonstop here for quite a few years, and we'll continue to do so. Southern California, not a whole lot going on down there right now. The rest of the country, as you can see, some of those smaller earthquakes there from earlier this morning. There's that 6.2. Do we have any aftershock activity? Most of the time, these deeper quakes there into the subduction zone do not produce aftershocks. That's a very deep earthquake into the Middle America Trench. So if anything, that will add further strain up here across the Middle America Trench for the next maybe big mega quake out here. This area can see some very large earthquakes, way above 6.2. So these deeper quakes obviously add in strain, but there's no aftershock activity. None noted there on the globe at all. 5.5 stirring up out there around Japan right now. Let's see what we got. 5.5, where are you? USGS not reporting that. Looks like a fairly new earthquake coming in right now. About 10 minutes ago here. Just looks like the northern edge of the Japan Trench, about 46 kilometers deep there for that 5.5. Let me see if that showed up here. Oh, yeah. Showed up quite nicely across the Japan station. That's going to be that seismograph station right here. 5.5. We're getting things stirring up out here. Someone mentioned here in the comments, let's get this party started, right? Let's get this party shaking. Well, good possibility. It may happen here soon. Seen a lot of earthquake activity out here across the western edge of the Pacific Plate here recently. A lot of deeper activity as well. Kurokamachaka has been on my list here for a long time as far as megaquake potential. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. New Zealand, let's see what we got going on down south here in the beautiful New Zealand area. They did see a 4.1 earlier this morning, shaking things up there in North Island. A little bit of southward migration here across the plate boundary. Look at that 3.7 coming in there, South Island. Overall, definitely a mixed bag of shallow and deep earthquakes there around the Hikurangi subduction zone and also the Alpine Fault south there in the South Island. So keep an eye on that. New Zealand's well overdue for some large earthquake activity as well. We've just been, all of us technical folks out here, enjoying our cell phones and computers and YouTube and, our smartphones and smart ACs, smart lights, whatever you use. We haven't had to deal with any major earthquakes out here. But eventually that's going to change, folks. We got some changes ahead for us. Whether it's in our lifetime or our children's or grandchildren's, it could happen any day. The Hikurangi subduction zone is a major player here producing some megaquakes. And that would put New Zealand not in a good position out there as far as the quake and the tsunami potential. So keep an eye on that. Definitely been shaking out there across North Island, New Zealand area recently. Java Trench area, aside from that 5.4 earlier this morning, looks fairly quiet. A couple smaller quakes back building here across the Indonesia Islands area. Greece area did see a 5-pointer as well. That earthquake coming in within the last hour or so around the Greece area, as you can see right on the plate boundary, just off it maybe, around the Sea of Crete. Pretty decent earthquake, 31 kilometers deep for that quake. Looks like prior to that, seen a 4.5, so keep an eye on this area. This area as well is very capable of producing some mega quakes out here across this area. And large tsunamis have been historically noted out here across the Mediterranean Sea. We've just been living in some awful quiet times, but it's not always going to be rainbows and unicorns out here. 2.8, couple other threes out there around the Iceland area. Let's go check that out real quick. Things rocking out there as well, getting quite active here globally. There's all that swarming going on up here. Northern edge of the rift boundary here, north of Iceland. Nothing being affected down here across the Grindavik area for now. This is the area we've got to watch here for some further eruption activity, because we are quite elevated here in terms of inflation. But for now, just minimal earthquake activity down there. Kilauea volcano, a pair of earthquakes up here, 3.3, 3.3, literally within seconds of each other. You guys see that? Crazy. So got to watch this area up here across the upper east rift zone. I think we're going to see some major action up here soon. Let's go check out the latest. Got a fly in here. Why is there a fly? Let's go check out the latest information here from the USGS in terms of volcanic activity, and then I'll deal with Mr. Fly here. Kilauea volcano still holding steady. Yellow and advisory is the status right now as of Saturday night. There's that earthquake activity around the upper east rift zone. Far as, well, let me zoom in here real quick. Take a look at these seismograph stations. And actually, it looks like there's only one three-pointer. I don't see a 3.3 and a 3.3. There's only one 3.3. And that is obviously very close to this seismograph station here. So it may be a location or a depth difference there as to why there's two showing up on the graph. Had a decent swarm of activity earlier this afternoon. That died down, but it looks like things may be kicking back up right now around the Kilauea volcano. We are getting up there in terms of inflation. The latest data here shows some type of adjustment going on here on the chart. Something happened here recently, a very sharp move of magma. And watch this, because we could be looking at an eruption happening soon. Look at that, very sharp rise here on the graph, indicating some extreme pressure going on underneath the Kilauea volcano. So a lot going on, folks. We'll continue to keep an eye on things all around the planet right now. Lake Tahoe, from Hawaii, Iceland, down to New Zealand. Keep an eye on everything that's happening right now. Space weather activity, not so much in terms of flaring. You guys hoping for those auroras? Are they happening tonight? Let's check out the detailed forecast. Supposed to happen here between 00 and 0300 UTC time. So what time is it right now? Well, it is 0446 on the 21st. And we have yet to see anything come in. So I'm thinking here, there's that 5-pointer, 5.5 there in Japan. That's a pretty nice signature. That may get a little upgrade. I'm thinking maybe that CME that was blasted off here a couple days ago completely missed the planet, or it's arriving late because we're at the end time here in terms of when we were expecting the CME and elevated aurora activity. So I don't see it. That's a forecast. Current conditions here, nothing showing up here on the graph. So it's possible it may have missed us, folks. All right, man, goodness, just a lot of activity stirring up out here. Thunderstorm activity expected over the next few days. Nothing major going on in terms of severe weather. The hurricane potential out here shows a little chance of development here. Maybe in the next 7 days, a 30% chance of some type of cyclone development out in the eastern Pacific off the coast of Mexico. Nothing in Hawaii. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet, quite rare. But again, you know, it has a lot to do with the Sahara dust blown over. Could inhibit the tropical cyclone, you know, possibilities. But we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Pretty quiet there for now. Got 100 and I think we hit 109 degrees here in Northern California once again. And it's just hot. It's hot and it's humid outside. And I say it's humid because we live out here in the rice field country. Northern Sacramento Valley is full of rice fields. And if you think about it, you know, if we didn't have those rice fields, it'd be nice and dry. I could probably run a swamp cooler out here and keep it cool. But I have to run multiple ACs and, you know, to try and cool the place down. The computer room, obviously. And that's hopefully one of these days here soon I'll be able to say that I no longer live out here. That's what I'm hoping for. somewhere new. Again, I'll try to find this a seismograph station there locally across Lake Tahoe. I don't know what I have, but I'll take a look here and see if I can pull up a Lake Tahoe seismograph so we can keep an eye on that. Either way, swarm of activity. Total tally now about 16 earthquakes. So this all fired up early this morning, but it intensified with a 3.4 earthquake literally 9 minutes following that 6.2 earthquake down south. The seismic waves do take a little time to travel, right? And that seems about the right time for that seismic wave to trigger the swarm up here about 10 minutes later. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later tomorrow, folks. Enjoy your Saturday evening. Please stay safe out there and be prepared.